welcome to episode 23 of the Just Run podcast with me, Rhys Morgan.
And me, Nathan Marshall.
So we're both super excited for this week's guest, and I'll be announcing him shortly. But first, just want to have a quick rundown of mine and Nathan's week, chat about what's going on in their lives, and obviously with the very quick approach in Wales Coastal Path for my co-host here and friend. So really curious, mate. I mean, you literally, is it next week you can be running this?
I leave Friday, so when this episode goes out, I will be travelling to Chester.
And for anybody who, for whatever reason, doesn't know about this yet, need to just tell the world exactly what you're doing and what crazy challenge and the charities you're doing it for, mate.
All right, so I am running the whole Welsh Coastal Path, 880 miles with 60,000 foot of climbing in between. I'll be running for Big Moose and Cerebral Palsy Wales. And I start this Saturday the 20th of July, which I'm wicking it now, to be honest. Because, you know, in a taper week, you always, like, everything fucking hurts, doesn't it, in a taper week?
Yeah.
Everything's fucking hurting. I'm thinking, I wish that little niggle would go away. God, my knees, my feet. It's just a lot of doubt now. I just want to get day one out the way because day one's going to suck.
The time is now. This is it, mate. Forget all that, mate. Like I said, come that date when you put those trainers on, you jump out that Hummer van, your mum and van's Hummer van, and you crack on. You'll be buzzing, mate. You waiting for views you're going to see, and you're going to have the best time, mate. You really are going to have the best time, and just enjoy the process. Don't worry about I know and this is easy for me to say because I'm not doing it, but the first day I know you're worried about and stuff. We've talked about that, but don't worry about that day. The second day, just get ahead in the game and just enjoy it and enjoy the process as well. Because forget about the FKT at the end. Hopefully that will come. I think it's just the fact that you're doing something that there's only a very small amount of people on this planet who have ever done from start to finish, and it's going to be the best adventure. Doing it, a lot of it with your son as well. So, mate, I'm truly jealous.
It's something that I've always thought, that looks fucking incredible. Ever since I've seen Rhys Jenkins's Lighthouse when he did the FKT about 4 or 5 years ago now, which actually got me into trail running and ultramarathon running. And the thing that I've got a chance to replicate that, hopefully, it's just nuts. I would never thought this was going to happen 5 years ago, as I was just doing my 5-10Ks. Crazy.
Yeah. Thing is, mate, the problem is with this is a lot of people I want to do it, and I reckon I'll have a go one day, beating your record, hopefully. But it's a lot of people want to do these things. Like you said, they become wanna-dos. They become bucket lists, and unfortunately, a lot of them never actually end up getting done because I don't this 880 or they get all this doubt and negativity come into their head. To do what you do, mate, just fucking book the time off work, start training, and just do it. Just plan and do it, because if you don't do it, if for whatever reason something happens and you have to pull out halfway through or whatever, doesn't matter. Go back and do it again. It's just this, it's the fact that you've got the opportunity to do it. All of us have the opportunity to do these things. Every single one of us. It just depends how much you want it, really.
The important thing for me was to get it out there and start manifesting it. So last year when I finished this 5 run, and I looked at my current mileage for the year after that week in Pembroke, and I seen that mileage for my year actually matched the exact coastal path mileage. So I just thought, that's a fucking sign. So I thought, right, I'm going to fucking do this. So I just put it out there. So I thought, right, I've got to fucking do it now. And I just started putting things in place to get me closer to the start and stuff. And I think that's really important. It's just to get shit done. It's just manifest and just work towards it in little steps.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. You just got the belief to.
Absolutely. Do hard things. Like when you want to do something hard, like running the Wales Coastal Path or doing your first half marathon, 5K, 10K, whatever, ultra, that it's going to suck and it's going to be hard. Part of the doing the hard things bit is just booking it. getting your debit card out and paying for it, or if you're doing it solo off your own back, just stop making excuses and sit down with a laptop or a bit of paper and plan it. And then you'll find, like you probably have, the more you start, like, getting your head into it at first is difficult, but then the minute you start making notes and working out your route and what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be seeing and the mileage, it starts getting exciting. It does. It starts, like, you get that, like, adrenaline pumping already, and that's it. You got your foot in that door. And whether you choose to do it then or something happens, like I said, that is the difficult part. Is just getting it. It's just doing it. So, like, I always come back to this podcast, mate, with you. I've always said, I spoke about with a few friends of mine in the past about doing a podcast. Just never did it. And then in January, you were like, got an idea, let's do a podcast together. Boom, manifested it within like a couple of days. You'd set up the Spotify, you'd set up the page, you did it. So, like, yeah, done. We put it out there, and here we are, 23 episodes deep with some amazing guests and some incredible lined up as well. So it's about just, it's a life lesson, isn't it? Whatever you want to do, just take that first step.
I think I'm going to do something now, which again I think is manifesting. As you know, we've been in contact from the Bristol Running Show this week about doing a podcast at the Bristol Running Show, which we're trying to plan and sort out now, and so like how we're going to do it. But what's come from that is there is no Cardiff Running Show. So I think the Bristol Running Show want our help to create a Cardiff Running Show.
Oh man, that would be huge. That would be huge, because I mean, just look at the running clubs and the community in Cardiff alone. You know, like, it's huge, huge. That'd be amazing. So there we are. Then we'll put that out there.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the venue to be Sophia Gardens. So the cost of the actual hire of Sophia Gardens will be covered by just ticket sales, hopefully, and all vendors completely free, just to build this massive event as a first timer.
Cool.
So yeah, I started thinking beyond the Welsh Coastal Path now, and like, what are we going to fucking do in the future?
Yeah, let's get that 880 done first, mate. We'll put a pin in that, and we'll come back, because I don't want you running through this and not enjoying it, or your mind's elsewhere halfway through, like day 10 or wherever, and you're like, Sophia Gardens, no, so you can get your head in the game. You're like me.
You know what it's like when you're on a long run, though. You'll be running, and I'll be solving like all these problems, like how can we do it and stuff, and I'll be sending you voice notes. Reese, I got an idea. Reese, I figured it out.
Okay, I'm up for it. That's true, actually. When you're in a bit of a pain cave and you're like, right, okay, let's get my head somewhere else. What can I think of? Just don't go somewhere else so far that you take the wrong route or end up getting lost.
Yeah, but looking at the Welsh Coastal Path, can anyone be ready to run 880 miles? Can they honestly say that they've done the training to run 880 miles? Can they honestly say they're going to be strong enough to do it? No.
Nobody can.
It's the unknown, isn't it? And how do you manage yourself through the day? So I'm going into it. So like, yeah, let's just get through every day as easy as possible.
I mean, it's exciting. It's the unknown. That is what makes it exciting. You know what you're going to do, but you have no idea how your body is going to react physically and mentally. Yes, you know it's going to hurt, but this is something, like I said, only a few rare people actually get to do. So this is the unknown. This is the exciting thing, and that's what I kept saying about the opponent. It's nowhere near 880, but it's still 100, and I was excited because I didn't know how my body was going to react. I didn't know how my head was going to go or not, and if my body was going to withstand it, but my head was going to go, and I was going to end up pulling out, or the other way around. And these are the things that you just have to consider, and it almost comes subconsciously. But and I think the key is to not overthink it going into it and just embracing it.
Yeah. So if anyone actually fancy doing something like that, I think they should get in contact with us, because we can help them plan it and get it done for them.
Yeah, because we know people now, like Alan, the running book and stuff. We've got contacts now that very kindly willing to help people do this and achieve it. So yeah, that's definitely something worth putting out there. Definitely.
Yeah. And can I say as well, good luck to Steve from PFM Coaching, who's going to do the FKT supported, but he hasn't got a crew. So he's actually going to be doing it self-supported,
wow,
which is just insane.
Yeah, good luck, man. That's ridiculous, but
absolutely insane. That is.
Good luck to you, man. Good luck to anyone that self-supported his put.
So he's faced a logistic nightmare of like, where's he going to charge everything? So he's got to take that into consideration, where I haven't got that because I've got the van every night to like charge everything. So that must be a right fucking headache for him. But wow, that must be amazing.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. I've got to talk about my week as well, because it was a bit of an exciting week, like unusual week for me as well. So this week,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I had Rod, good friends Rod and Matt, who run First Light Coffee Shop in Tonbridge Lights, my favourite coffee shop, with Rav, I will say as well. It's a big part of it. They reached out to me because I was presented with a cool opportunity. So a really awesome, inspiring lady and world record holder, multiple world record holder by the name of Kate Strong. Very appropriate surname, by the way. She had the launch of her book called Climate Cycle, and she asked to do it at First Light. So I was given the opportunity last minute to interview her. They did have someone lined up for whatever happened. I'm happy being sloppy seconds, whatever. But I got in there and there was about probably 10, 15 people in the crowd, and I sat at the back of the shop and interviewed her, and they had lovely food and just a really nice environment. Like her journey, we'll put links in this to check her out, because she is such an inspiring lady. Like, we discussed her incredible achievements, her personal journey, how she got here, what she's got planned next. It was all filmed and captured by Matt, who runs, or one of the co-founders of First Light, and looking forward to seeing some video footage and some photos coming from that. But yeah, it was just really cool. Like, I've never done that before. Like, we've never done a podcast in person either. And sat at the front, she did, I had questions that she presented me with, but the conversation was really nice. It just flowed naturally. I was able to take things from what she was saying. So was the crowd. There was a lot of interaction. It was really cool, really, really cool. And she's got, this lady has cycled 3,500 miles around Britain on a bamboo bike, raising awareness for sustainability, climate change, visiting charities, schools. She's done so many amazing things. And she's got another world record she's trying to achieve starting next March, called Taft Tidy, which we'll put a link on. And it's about getting as many people as possible to help try and clean out, Taft Tidy and stuff, the River Taff. So yeah, we'll put a link out. But it was just awesome. Like, I was nervous as hell, but I had a couple of beers, and it was just great. I got to say thank you to those guys for giving me the opportunity, because I think going forward that they thought that I killed it, which is great. And have asked me if there's any other book launches coming up in the future, we can do that. So, and obviously we are going to do a podcast at some point in the future as well. Okay, so now I'm super excited for this week's guest, all the way from Bagara. Hope I pronounced that correct. From Queensland, Australia, Matt Grills. Matt is a husband, father, an incredible plant-based ultra runner, owner of 2 specialty coffee shops, avid collector of tattoos, and lover of music. And I've spoken to Matt a lot over the past months, and finally we've been able to link up and get this sorted. And so I'm genuinely psyched to have a chat with him, as is Nathan. So yeah, without further ado, Matt, welcome to the Just Run podcast, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good morning, good evening. I don't know what time it is, but it's evening here, and glad we can make it work.
Yeah. Apologies for it. There might be a few delays, but that's fine. We're going to work with that. But yeah, it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, mate. What time is it
there? 7 p.m.
7 p.m. So you'll probably be going to bed soon, and yeah, we're just having breakfast.
Yeah, won't be too far away. The big training week ahead as usual.
Yeah. We'll kind of come back to that now, actually, because I know you've told me a little bit about that. But I think first and foremost, Matt, mate, again, thank you so much for coming on. Me and you have, chatted a little bit, and got to know a little bit about each other before this, and massively admire you and everything you've done, mate. And I just want, obviously, the listeners to know more about you, because if they don't know about you, I want them to. So can you tell us a bit about yourself? And I know that from previous podcasts you talked about this a lot, but obviously, so sorry to make you repeat yourself, but just a bit about your life and how you've come to this stage, really, and it's a bit about you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It has been super nice chatting over Instagram mainly, and for social media and all its ills, I've been super grateful to be able to meet super cool people like all around the world, and in our travels and racing, get to have the opportunity to meet up with some of them and go on training runs, and it's been super rad. So yeah, it's great to catch up with you guys. And man, that's a big question to and a very long answer to start with, but I guess currently, as you said, like, we own a couple of specialty coffee shops, and I'm a husband and dad of two daughters. So I've got a 14-year-old and 11-year-old girls, and we're in that stage of life that it seems like very, very busy, busier than it's been up to this point. And so, yeah, so they've got a lot of stuff going on with life in general, and sports and social stuff and school and all those things. So that's certainly a juggling act. My wife has her own business, hairdressing, and she works late a couple of days a week, Monday through Wednesday. So I'm doing the run around, and sometimes doing doubles in between dancing and soccer and bits and pieces. And yeah, so that's sort of the family and the business. I also try and make this running thing a extremely low paying business, with a little bit of sponsor stuff and some a little bit of coaching, and yeah. But I think if you worked it out on an hourly rate, I'm probably on 0.0000 lots of 0.01 cents an hour. So yeah, so in between all that, trying to fit in sort of in the realm of 15 to 20 plus hours a week of training, and uh and yeah, just trying to juggle that and work, and then social. And not that there's a whole lot of time. My social life is sort of through our coffee shops, which is super sweet. Get to catch up with all our friends and hang. It's not really work. Going to the shop is the fun part. It's all the other stuff that's tough. But yeah, so yeah, and just the occasional, gig and trip away, and then always planning for the next holiday and adventure, or race in between.
Sweet. I wanted to ask you just quickly that you mentioned, obviously, you got two daughters. Obviously, I know that obviously you've taken part in a lot of sports throughout your early life. I've read into that, and obviously you did the gym thing and everything before you took on the ultra running. With your two girls, do you see any kind of traits in your girls that maybe that you had? Like, can you see them picking up sports like yourself, or have they got any interest in running?
Yeah, it's interesting. As parents, my wife runs as well, but I was personally super conscious not to try and push them into anything. Just sort of let them try different stuff. And I've listened to a number of podcasts about, generalists and specialists, and just sort of letting them be that generalist in life and in activities until they find something that they really, strike a chord with. So they're both reasonably active, and as I mentioned, they're into dancing. My young one, she's pretty good at whatever she picks up. So she's really got into soccer or football, as you guys call it, and she's doing really well at that. So I never thought I'd be a soccer dad, but I really enjoy watching her play and trying to support her in that. And so yeah, it's really good seeing her sort of. She's got to the point where she's made some representative teams, and she's starting to sort of want to do her own training and stuff, which is different to anything she's sort of done in the past. So that's really cool to see. And as far as running goes, if they want to go for a run, we certainly encourage them to be active and get out and be moving and doing stuff as much as they can. And if that means coming for a run or doing something with us or a family bike ride or anything, then that's all a bonus. So just trying to help them find what they want to do. I mean, I think deep down as a runner, you always hope for the day that your kids might want to run with you. I've got a good relationship with my dad through running now, and I'd love to be able to do that one day. But if they don't want to do that, and they as long as they're active, I don't really care, and they're moving their bodies. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's actually a good lead into. So Nate, obviously he's about to take on the entire Welsh Coastal Path, which is 880 miles, and he's going to try and beat the FKT, which is what 17 days, Nate?
17 days, yeah.
And his son is going to be running how much with him?
He wants to do at least 10K every day. So I'll try and break it up to him, and obviously we got to think of where we're actually running, because I don't want to be having him running on the edge of a cliff, or having a section where it's like miles from like the next checkpoint, or where we can drop him off to my parents. So he's looking to do anything he can really, which is going to be cool.
And your daughter's what, professional Welsh rugby player?
Yeah, she's out in Italy at the moment with the under-20s. She's been playing since she was age 5.
Incredible.
She's so driven. It's just crazy.
I love that. I hope that my little man can be. Sorry, Matt.
I was just saying that's super cool. It's like, that's so great that they're able to do that with you. And those memories are certainly, if you make when you make the run, I think those Ks with your son will probably be the thing that you'll remember, not necessarily even finishing the
totally agree.
Or getting the FKT. It'll be spend that time with your kid.
Yeah.
Stuff, eh?
Yeah, they'll be the memories, and they'll be hopefully what he remembers as well. Like he'll be able to look back at that and have all these photos and done something incredible. There's not many people who will ever get the chance to run the Welsh Coastal Path. So to do that with his son is incredible. I hope that my little boy, he follows after me already. I think he'll be sporty in some way, but like you said, Matt, I'm not going to push him at the end of the day. As long as he enjoys what he does and he does it with heart, that's fine by me.
For sure. You'll head off soon, yeah, Nathan? It's Nathan, sorry, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll get my names right. You're heading off soon, yeah?
Yeah, I leave. I'm heading to Chester, which is North Wales, next Friday. I start on Saturday the 20th.
And what's the goal per day?
I can't say because other people do the record as well, but I'll message you after.
Fair enough. Sounds good. I like that.
Not that I'm competitive or nothing, yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's good to keep your cards close to your chest sometimes, that's for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Matt, so, I mean, man, me and Nate were talking about before you came on, we've listened to your TED Talk, I've read and listened to pretty much all the podcasts I can find on you, read into you and stuff, and you've done some unbelievable runs, like unreal runs. Like, for example, the one that again sticks out to me, similar to what we've just been talking about, is you ran, was it 500 kilometers from Brisbane to Bundaberg and back with your dad? Is that something you did?
Yeah, that was first of all super kind that you've taken the time to listen to my nonsense and stuff I've done, mate. But I appreciate that. But that was actually one of the first things we did. That was, talk about doing stuff with your parents or your kid. My dad sort of got me into. I was a runner in school, but my dad got me into running once I sort of decided to stop doing the gym, and I very quickly found ultra marathon running after doing my first marathon, and that was through, I think, a lot of people, through Dean Carnesi's book, Ultra Marathon Man, and that completely changed the trajectory of my life. And that was probably about 17 years ago now. And we very quickly got into doing some ultra marathons and had no idea what we were doing. And my dad, a few years prior, had prostate cancer, and we decided to do this run to fundraise for Beyond Blue. And it's there's an Australian foundation that's for men's mental health and for prostate cancer awareness. So we just come with this idea that, again, no idea what we're doing, that we're going to run to Brisbane and back. And we decided to do it like a tag team relay. So we would do I think we did the first 5K together each day, and then the last 5K together each day, and then whatever is in the middle we'd split. So we ended up doing, I think it was close to 500K each in, I guess it was around 20 days. So the kilometers were extremely manageable. I look at it now and I'm like, it's, at the time it was extremely difficult, but I look at it now and I'm like, it was pretty easy going. But when you're green and you don't know what you're doing, and it was a really cool experience, and the family was all involved. And my wife was actually about 7 months pregnant with our first daughter, and I strongly suggest anyone thinking about doing something like that with your wife 7 months pregnant in the crew van, not a good idea.
Don't.
Don't. So we learned some valuable lessons about crewing and about managing multi-day events, and I guess it really lit the fire for. I love racing, but I also love multi-day, self-organized adventure style runs as well. So that's certainly been a constant through the last 17 odd years of my running adventures.
Incredible. So had you done like because I obviously read that you were into your weightlifting and gym and stuff, but you took up running because you wanted to do something with your dad. So had you done many bigger runs prior to that, or was it what did you do, halves and marathons and stuff within prior, or did you go straight into the 500K?
It was pretty quick. Like I decided to do my first marathon. I was sort of lifting, sort of phasing out of that and running at the same time. And I did my first marathon, and I was sort of about the same. No, I wasn't quite as lean as I am now, but I was 103 kilos. So I was a pretty big boy, and it was extremely difficult. So I did the first marathon, and then I think we did a 50K, and then it was called the North Face 100, which is now called UTA Australia. So we did that. And then, look, I want to say it was pretty quick. There might have been a couple of other, halves or maybe a couple of marathons in there, but it was pretty quick that we then just jumped in and thought running to Brisbane and back was a cool idea.
And how was your relationship with your dad during that? Because I mean, I love my parents, and as I've got older, my relationship with my dad has gotten a lot closer. Not that it was terrible before, but I think it just does. It's one of those things. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything like that with him. But I mean, did it strengthen your relationship?
Yeah, we certainly had our struggles when I was in school, and we had different ideas on how to I guess raise a family. Like he had good intention, and his way to show us he loved us was to work super hard. And he's a concreter, so he's had his own business for a lot of years, and that sort of caused, and my immaturity as a kid caused some tension between the two of us, because I sort of wanted him around, but mum was home, and he had to work. So that was certainly difficult through school. But then straight after school, I actually was an exchange student in Finland, and so way up north of you guys. And through that year, I think we both sort of did a lot of thinking and growing, and our relationship started to sort of mend then. And then, through me getting back into sport and the gym and stuff, our relationship slowly started to improve. But then when I decided to sort of take up running, he'd been running marathons and stuff sort of since I left school. So it would have been, a period of 5 or 6 years before I started. And you know, when I asked him to do that training program for me and showed an interest sort of in what he was doing in his world, that's when, you know, things sort of really went, you know, and accelerated our relationship, I guess. So yeah, so that was fantastic. So, you know, that through running, Dad and I have done some pretty cool stuff. Like he has done a lot of really cool things in his own right, and to work the way that he does and still train and finish races is, it's beyond me. Like I've done enough of that work with him to know that when you finish a day of concreting, you do not want to go running, especially in Australia in the heat. And he, you know, he just does it, and he loves it. Like it's been a little bit difficult in the last few years. He's had a few health issues, and it's been hard watching him not be able to run and train and race and do the things that he really loves, because he just thrives being part of the community. And you know, I think it's as much his identity as it is mine. So that's been a little hard, and it's hard to remember sometimes that he's 70 when only a few years ago, you know, he was trying to run 200 miles, and you know, but having him along for, you know, you know, I think the relationship has changed a little bit now. Like I'm trying to take on these really massive sort of adventure things, and he's usually the first one on board to crew, and sometimes that brings its own stresses. He's a bit of a warrior and stressor, and I'm like super casual and just like, let's just roll with the punches. So that can be a bit hard sometimes, but you know, he's got best intentions at heart. And you know, only a few months ago, before the Noosa Ultra Trail 100K, I decided to run to the start line, which was it was 255K. So I did in 3 days. Ran to the start line of the 100K, and he crewed for me. So it was just a little adventure that he and I went on, and slept in the back of my van, and yeah, it's super cool. So sort of things have changed and molded over the years, and he's still, you know, he's still wanting to run up. There's a 100K in October that he's done 8 times, and he's freaking determined to get a 10-time finisher there. But he turns 70 in October, so you know, 100K when you're 70 is with a fair bit of verts, not mucking around. So hopefully you can get the job done.
What a legend. You made some serious memories with your dad and your family, mate. That's what life's about, man. That's incredible. It makes me very jealous. And you know, it's quite funny. I got to say something here. This is not a weird thing to say, but I see a lot of characteristics and traits in you that I have as well. It's quite strange because, I mean, I haven't been in ultra running long. I've not achieved anything that you have. Well, in kind of that, you know, the amount of races you've done, that'll come in time. But, you know, the tattoos, the love of music. I wanted to be in a band and travel the world. I was in a band for a while. We were doing well. And I actually came to Australia for a year and travelled and left the band and never went back. And lots of things that you've said are very similar to the thinking is similar to me. Like, and then you mentioned your dad had prostate cancer. Mine currently has prostate cancer, and he's doing really well. But yeah, it's just every time you say these things, I'm like, holy shit, he's very similar to me. It's crazy. There's a lot of things going on, but
it's a small world, man. It really is. Like, and that's, you know, going back to what I said at the start. Like, that's what I think is so great about social media. It's, you know, for all its curses, it's amazing to be able to connect with people that, you know, we wouldn't have had the opportunity 10, 20 years ago to be able to do this, to be able to become friends with people on the other side of the world. And you know, even when I was like reposting your posts this afternoon, I'm like, oh man, I'm doing a podcast in the UK. It's like so rad. And you know, such a cool opportunity. But just to touch on and you know, appreciate the kind words again, man. But just to touch on that, what you were saying, like I'm super, super grateful. Like my wife is like, and my family in general, but my wife particularly is incredibly understanding and supportive of what I do. And it's, you know, we've been married for a long time. We got married at 18 and 19. And you know, our lives have woven together, you know, over 22 years this year. And she knows how important what I do is to me, and she appreciates that, and she's very understanding of letting me do my thing, and and I make sacrifices to support that as well. I don't. Sorry, it's my dog. I don't want to get up like crazy early, but I choose to do that. So the training hopefully impacts the family as little as possible, and my kids are the same. They've been coming to races from, as I mentioned before, in Tegan's stomach when she was pregnant. Like they've been coming to, they're at my eldest one was at UTA when she was maybe 9 months old, and they've been able to experience amazing things and see amazing places in Australia and around the world through my running that 99% of kids around the world wouldn't have. So it is a really unique experience and situation, and I'm super grateful because I don't take it for granted, because I know not everybody has that luxury, and a lot of people butt heads with their partners, and they don't get what they do. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yes, I think over the years, like I've always run and done silly things and what have you, like whether it was running or not. But prior to doing running or taking the ultra side more seriously, I was doing big bike rides and stuff for charities. And I think over the years, my wife has slowly started to realize that okay, this is a thing. This is what Reese does. Like it took a while, I think, only because she's, and this isn't taking anything away from her, she doesn't run. She despises running. She literally hates it. She likes gym, yoga, everything else, and she stays active. But I just think it took a while for her to understand that, like, you want to do what? You want to run 100? What? To her, she couldn't compute it. But now I think, and regardless of her thought process on it, she's always there at the finish line. She's always there supporting me, and I think it's important to have that person, isn't it? I mean, it's just surrounding yourself with positive people. If you're not married, it's surrounding yourself with positive people, positive friendships and groups. And as you've touched on a few times, I mean, like I said, you're sat in Australia right now. I've never met you before, and we're talking about this now. And it feels like I've known you for ages. You've got the running community is incredible worldwide, and is so supportive. And I think that helps a lot as well. But I just wanted to touch on, you mentioned your training and stuff as well. Out of curiosity, so with your training, especially when you've got big runs coming up, and we're going to come back to them in a sec, but I'm curious, how hard do you push in training? I know it sounds like a bit of a weird question, but on race day, obviously, every stride is like an effort, obviously, because it's, you're out there, it's race day, you've got your game face on, and a lot of people go hard. But do you train that way, or how does your training week look? Do you like mimic the day, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty big question, because over the time I've been running, it's really evolved and changed, and you build up a certain amount of resilience to training as well. I guess I'll lead off by saying I've sort of put a lot of thought into this recently. I'm not a competitive person at all. I'm competitive with myself. And in a race, like if I'm putting out as much effort as I can and know that, it's 70K into a 100 miler and somebody goes past me, I'm not going to chase them, because experience says that, well, I've got a little saying that in a 100 miler, the race doesn't start till 100K. So I'm not interested until 100K. So yeah, so I guess that how hard I push in training, it's a little dependent and unique to where I live as well. So a lot of the races that I do are mountainous ultra trails. So the recent big races I've done have either been at altitude or included altitude and or a lot of climbing. I live in an extremely flat town. We have one hill that's, depending on what you look at, it's 96 or 98 meters above sea level. And trails, I don't have the luxury to get to very, very often, just due to sheer time and, not wanting, the closest trails really are probably, by the time I drive there and get running, it's probably an hour. So, I know I need to get there and I should, but to go there and do like let's say a 4 to 6 hour run, you put an hour on each side, on your day off when you want to spend it with your family, and I'm just not always willing to do that. And that happens every now and then. So I guess to answer your question in how hard I push, I've always, I was an extremely early lover and still am, and advocate of all that Anton does. So it hasn't worked out so well for him now, but I've always subscribed to high volume and sort of low intensity. So I certainly do a little bit of effort and speed work here and there. But my sort of thinking is, if like, this is a whole another podcast, but my personal opinion is that if you're going to train for a long race, you need to run a lot, and most of it needs to be at a conversational, easy pace. So, so what I used to do 10 years ago, if I used to do a couple of weeks of 100 miles in a row, I'd start to get niggles, and that was too much. Whereas now, I'm on this thing at the moment where the last couple of races and leading into my next race, I'm doing like 100-mile week plus blocks. So it's like 160 to 200, 210K week blocks. And then I'm also including, 2 to 5,000 meters of climbing on that one hill. So yeah, so it's, you got to get creative. And I've got a step machine in my shed. I've been dragging a tire around that one hill with a training mask on, looking like Hannibal Lecter. So, intensity and how hard I work is, I guess, relative. To me, I love high volume. It does take up more time, but I think more than anything for me, mentally, I need to be doing and putting in big blocks before big races to be mentally prepared. I personally would find it really difficult to go into a 100-miler and have only run 90K weeks, 100K weeks. That's not taking anything away from anybody that does that, because I know you can complete a 100-miler on way less training than I do. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. I just find that if I can put in, before my last race, I had a great block leading into that Noosa race where I ran to it that I was speaking about. And then I had a few little build weeks after resting for a bit. And then I did 4 weeks between 100 and 200K between 160K and 200K with a heap of climbing, a 4-week block. I think I worked out I did like 700K and 11,000 meters of vert in 4 weeks. And I was like, I'm freaking ready to go. So that's a really long way of answering your question, but how hard I work in training, it's relative. So for a normal person to run 100 miles a week is very difficult, but it's very difficult for me to get my head around running a really hard 5K. So, it's hard is such a, it's a different term. Yeah.
Broad word. Yeah, it is. I know what you mean, because I can't stand the thought of, have you heard of parkrun? They have parkrun in Australia, don't they?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I didn't know it was a worldwide thing, but it was. It's I've never done one, and I do run 5Ks if I haven't got any time, and I have to bang out a 5K before work or wherever. But I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to enter the parkrun to do it, because I just think it's. We discussed this on the very first episode me and Nathan did about. I reckon it's probably one of the hardest distances, 5 and 10K, because you just go so hard that you're either blown out your ass really quickly, or you take your time, and then by the end of it, you're trying to play catch up, and it's just horrible distances. Like, again, not taking that away from anybody who does it. I admire people who do it and do it very quickly, but I'd much rather lace up and just run at my own pace for a long time. That's more of a me thing, and I think that's probably speak for both of you actually there as well.
Yeah, it's a bit multifaceted too. Like every year at the start of the year, I set goals as far as what I want to achieve for the year. And this year, I set a goal of running a sub 20-minute 5K, which I've only actually had a go at on New Year's Day. So it was the first day of the year. And it was in the middle of a medium length run. And I think I ran, I think it was like 22 and a half, or I don't know, something like that. But, you know, like you've got to put time and speed work and effort and focus into doing that. And like, I just don't want to do that. Like there might come a time where I do, but at the moment, like and you try and explain that to like a normal person that people just think running is running. I'm like, you got no idea. Like running a 5K is like, I can't explain to you the kind of pain that is. I'm like, I would much prefer, like, I have slow burn tattooed on me. I'm like, I just want to go and run for 20 hours and it'll just come. Like, I'm not interested in like 20 minutes of suffering.
It's so true. It's so true, isn't it? It sucks. Like I've done one sub 20-minute 5K, and to this day I don't even know if my Strava was working properly, because some of the times I were hitting just felt unnatural. But it was like 19 minutes 50 or something, and I could taste blood afterwards. I was like in severe pain, like on the floor. Like a woman walked past me walking a dog, and I had to stop and ask if I was okay, because I physically have never been so out of it. Like I looked dead. She must have thought I was dying because I was having a heart attack. And then people are like, "Oh, that's awesome. You're going to try and beat it?" No, absolutely not. I have no intention of doing that ever again. That was horrible. But like you said, it's strange. Nate's going to go and run 880 miles. It's just weird how people are different, but I'm glad we are all different. And I think
I've been wanting to have a go at a fast marathon for a long time. I got a lot of friends that are marathoners, and I don't know how, like I've never run a all out marathon, and like I've got an idea on what I could run, but you know I'd have to set aside, like, to do it properly, like 4 to 6 months to train and do it properly, and you probably have to do a couple hard marathons to get it right. And I'm like more power to people who do that, because again, you know, like there's so little room for error. But I just don't want to dedicate that time to doing, like I'm at a time, you know, I'm sort of at an age where ultra and like really long stuff is prime for the taking, and you know, I've got a massive history to build on that, and to dedicate that time for a marathon, I might one day, but at the moment I'm pretty keen to keep doing what I'm doing.
I get it, man. I get it.
Matt, when you go out for these long runs, especially races, do you follow a nutrition plan, like a fueling plan, or do you just wing it and so like go by feel?
In the races itself, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that again is you know, changed and ebbed and flowed over the years. And I've had a lot of some successes and some epic failures. And I used to sort of think that kind of thing was pretty universal, but the longer I go, the more I realize that it's so individual, and what will work for some won't work for others. So, yes, I do, to answer the question. And it's something that I certainly am trying to train and doing in training. In recent years, I've actually had some reasonable issue with some stomach slash reflux type episodes, and it's been quite frustrating, because I used to be able to get away with pretty much eating whatever, and you know, having a plan, but just jamming whatever in my face, and as long as it was vegan, then there was no real drama. It would go fine. But I don't know if it's an age thing or the length of time I've been running, or I'm not sure what to put it down to. it seems to be a little trickier these days with what I can and can't put in. As a general rule, now don't take this as science or try and follow it yourself, but as a general rule for me, I have like a 15-minute alarm set on my watch. I have in long runs. Sorry, just to backtrack a little, I've sort of again, deep diving on Anton over the years, I've done the sort of fat adapted stuff. So I'll head out, I get up most days when I'm in big weeks between 3 and 3:30, and I won't eat before I go, and I'll do up to 2 hours just with water, and then once I go beyond 2 hours, typically in training I won't eat before I go, but I will take on I've, like most people, I've subscribed to the liquid nutrition thing. So I'll have some liquid nutrition every 15 minutes, have a couple of sips of that and a couple of sips of water. Little tip from my dentist, because my teeth are not great because of I do have a very sweet tooth, but also from sports nutrition. If you're drinking liquid nutrition, carry water with you, and in between every sip, wash your mouth out with water and get the sugar off your teeth. Little tip for young players out there. I digress. Yeah, so a bit of sports nutrition every 15 minutes with some water, and then I aim for something solid every 45 minutes. And I'm still, I'm listening to all the science that's happening, and particularly with cyclists taking on a lot of calories an hour now. Cycling is very different to running. Obviously, they're not bouncing like we are. But typically I'm aiming for, everyone wants to talk in carbs now. I don't know when this changed. Like ultra running was always calories. So I'm still a bit confused. But anyway, it's 200 to 300 calories an hour. And my hydration plan, it's typically I'm aiming for a bottle an hour. So it's like 500 ml of water and sports nutrition. But it's extremely weather dependent here in Australia. So I can take one bottle for 2 hours here and come back reasonably, like not really dehydrated in winter. And if I took one bottle in summer, I'd be pretty cooked by the end. So it's very dependent on the weather. And yeah, but that's sort of the basic. And in races I'll take my personal nutrition in between aid stations, and then at aid stations typically I'm eating maybe like, well, in my last race, for example, I was having like pots and noodles, like burritos with like rice and beans and veg and stuff, some like you call it soft drink, soft drink every now and then, and when I try and push caffeine as long as I can, so I try and push caffeine to after 100K if possible, and not till I'm getting like tired, like sleepy tired, and that's again dependent on what time of the day the race starts. So yeah, that's sort of the basics. And the last race I was really just trying to get at aid stations, get as much in as I could, and everything was going like the best nutrition race I've had in a very long time, up until 125K, and my legs were good and I was ready to run, and then my stomach went to crap, and then it was a death march shuffle. So still learning and still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked actually, Nate, about that, because I had that as a question. Obviously you're vegan, and I wonder like, in terms of you being obviously an ultra runner and a vegan athlete, how has that impacted your running performance? Like, or do you like? I suppose an easier way to put that is: do you ever struggle to eat at checkpoints during races, like based on your diet, or is it something that you pre-plan for? Like, do you take any homemade food with you or anything like that, just in case?
Yeah, I've been doing it for nearly 11 years now. So it's kind of second nature. Like, I think like anything new, when you start, it's a lot of work and you're super conscious and it's like always on your mind. Whereas now, like the way I eat it's just the way I eat, and I don't think too much about it. I do take my own stuff. But you can always get watermelon, potatoes, salted potato chips. Um, Most noodles in Australia are vegan. Um, some exceptions, obviously. But and then if there's anything particular that I want, yeah, I definitely take my own stuff. When I do like multi-day stuff, like that run a nooster I did, my mum made like a heap of stuff. So we had like banana breads and little muffins and slice and different stuff. So yeah, it's just a little bit, it's not like a massive drama. And a lot of the sports nutrition products are by default vegan anyway. Like I've just been experimenting a bit with the precision stuff, and
Yes.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure all their stuff is vegan. Everything that I've used and checked is. Um, yeah, so it's not like a massive drama, and it's certainly, I think if anything, it's helped my performance and recovery over time. I still hold true that I don't know if I'd be able to train and recover. Recovery definitely seems to be my superpower. I'm not a genetically gifted runner. I'm not the greatest runner by any means, but I can back up, day after day after day, and keep churning out Ks. And I think that's got a lot to do with probably my diet, and also being on my feet all day at work probably helps as well. And
Mm,
yeah.
that's cool. Well, man, we've kind of not come round to it yet. So I want to talk about some of the races you've done. I mean, we have to. We'll be here all week if we start going through all of them, because I know you've done a fair few, but a couple of the standout ones, mate. I mean, I think you're the first person I've ever spoken to that's done Leadville. I mean, I know you've done some. You've recently done the Brisbane Ultra Trail 100, which we'll come to as well. But just to talk about some of your previous ones, I mean, any standout ones that you want to talk about, or like that for Leadville has to be one of them that's up there, surely.
Yeah, I was actually thinking today. I was mowing my lawn this afternoon. I do my best thinking when I'm mowing the lawn, and I was like, I really need to update my website, and I really need to like put together a good list of like. It's hard, right? Like you don't want ego attached to things, but I feel like I've done some pretty cool stuff over the years, and it'd be nice to have it all in one place. And I think just as time goes on, you just do what you do, and you don't think to record it. But yeah, I mean, as a general overview, I mean, I don't even know really how you technically count things now, because like, do you count ultra marathons and marathons that you do in training as ultra marathon? Like, I don't know where the line is there. But I don't know, like a lot of races. Um, I don't even know how many 100-mile plus races I've done. I guess it'd have to be like over 20 races over 100 miles. But you talk about standouts. Um, yeah, there certainly has been a few. Before I get to that, I guess I'd like to just like, again, talking about family, like we originally started and it was like races were like a big thing, like go to races and it's like it's big to do. And we still enjoy going to races, and it's still definitely a family thing, and it's like an organized thing. Whereas as the kids have got older, we put we put a lot of focus on travel, and we try and live you know reasonably simply in normal life, and we value experience and travel more than anything. So whether that's travel to races in Australia, um, or travel abroad with our family. And we all experienced the whole COVID hoo-ha, and through towards the end of that, my wife and I had our 20-year wedding anniversary, and we were sort of trying to decide where we wanted to go. We didn't really know. We just knew we wanted to do like a cool family, like big trip. And my wife, whether she regrets saying it now or not, I don't know, but she was basically like, well, why don't you, we did Leadville pre-COVID and it was like the best holiday we've ever had. So why don't you just try and get into a race, one of these races on your bucket list, and if you get in, we'll plan a holiday around it. So that's literally now our holiday planning is I've got a list of races that I want to do, and I pick one of them. I try and well, I don't pick one. I try and pick a couple and try and get into them, because we all know how hard races are to get into now. And if I get in, then then we plan a holiday around it. We save, and we work towards that. So that's a long way of saying I'm in a fortunate position now where I can start ticking off some of those bucket lists if I can get in. So yeah. So in recent times, last year I did Lavaredo in Italy, which was a terrible experience because I was sick for about 20 hours of the 22 hours. So it was suffering in paradise, because that is a incredible race. That was a highlight. Leadville, I was a very early disciple of Born to Run, and I've done a marathon barefoot. I ran in sandals. I've done 240-kilometer races, 100-mile trail races in sandals. I ran only in sandals for like 7 years. So anyone that's read Born to Run knows that Leadville is a prominent feature in that book. So getting the opportunity to run Leadville in 2019 and have a holiday around that was literally a dream come true. Like it was like, I got to meet Barefoot Ted, and like it was just one of the most romantic, amazing experiences. I literally cried driving into Boulder, because every single thing I watch and read and follow is freaking in Boulder. I tried to find Tony, but he's a ghost. So so Leadville was awesome. I'm talking too much, but
no, I have to jump in there actually and say, you mentioned the Ultra Marathon Man book. That was one of the staple books that I read that really made me think, like, this is insane. Like, how people push their body to such limits. I need me some of that. And also Born to Run. So I was going to bring it up earlier on, I forgot. And when you just mentioned it then, I thoroughly enjoyed that book. It's incredible. And if nobody's read it, like the whole story and everything around it. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean about that, man. Incredible.
Yeah. Yes, that was amazing. And then I guess a few other things. I was training and preparing for a run across the country. And in lead up to that, I did 100 half marathons in a row, and then the year after I did 40 marathons and 10 50K days in a row. So that were like a couple of cool lead up things that I did for the run across Australia. And then there's been a few special 100-milers. I won the inaugural we have an event here called the Buffalo Stampede, which is like 3 really mountainous ultras over 3 days. And that was a really cool experience. I don't know if they thought anybody would actually finish, and I got the job done, so that was cool. And then like a couple of other cool things, every now and then I like to do things that are completely out of my wheelhouse, and I am really have no business doing. So a few years back I did Ultraman. So I hadn't swam a lap, and I hadn't done a triathlon. Well, yeah, I don't think I'd swam a lap, and I hadn't done a triathlon in 20 years. And I managed to wiggle my way into Ultraman Australia and finish that. And then I've done a 200-mile gravel bike ride and with some mates, and yeah, a whole heap of other, that, as I mentioned earlier, that run to Noosa with Dad. before running that event. I did my own self-organized 200-mile run to try and raise some coin to open our business, because the bank wouldn't give us money and we couldn't get cash so it is a bit of a GoFundMe thing. And yeah, and like, I say all that to say, like, I love racing and I love adventuring, but to me, if I couldn't train and I couldn't, if I could just click my fingers and do a race or an event, it wouldn't interest me. I really enjoy the cathartic experience of the day-to-day training and the grind, and working yourself into the ground and getting up day after day and doing it. So as I mentioned before, every year I set training goals and things that I want to experience in training. And this year, even after, as I said, 17 years, this year I've set my most audacious goals as far as training goes and volume, and it's cool. It really lifts me up and makes me happy that I can still be this far into a journey and still be learning and getting better and improving. And yeah, it's been a cool experience. I hope that wasn't all too boring.
Have you got any ambition to do the Dragon's Back here in Wales?
I was actually, again, while I was mowing, I was like thinking about whether you guys are going to be like, you should come to the UK and do a race. I know about the Dragon Back, and if anyone wants to pay for me to come and do it, I'm all for it.
I think I can see another GoFundMe run coming up here.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what though? If it's difficult because it is expensive, and obviously with you being in Australia, it's not practical. But I mean, I got a friend who's done it, and I've spoken to other people who've done it, and the way really to get around that is by volunteering at their events. If you volunteer at their events, you get an enormous discount, like more than half, just to enter. But obviously, you traveling across from Australia to volunteer and then is not exactly practical. But do you know what's really funny, Nate? I've literally, whilst Matt was talking, I got the Dragon's Back race up on my phone right now, because that was going to be my next question. I was going to say, would you consider doing the 380-kilometer 6-day Dragon's Back over here? Because the reason I wanted to bring that up as well is I've spoken about this with a few of the people. I'd be interested to see how, the likes of yourself, Matt, and some other great runners like, the Courtney DeWalders and all these people. I'd love to see how they'd get on with the Welsh terrain, because the best of the best over here who are used to it, it's literally their stomping ground, struggle and DNF and can't do it. It's so tough. So I'd really like that race to get more people from across the pond to come over and try it. So maybe one day we'll look at organising that for you, eh? We'll do a Just Giving and get Matt Grills over here.
It'd be interesting to see if Lucy Bartholomew comes back. She was in the Beacons over the weekend, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was here. Yeah, you know about Lucy, I'm assuming, Matt?
Yeah. I think the biggest deterrent for me is I'm not so keen on your weather over there, guys.
Oh, it's miserable. Yeah, it's miserable. It just adds to the beauty, though.
Yeah, you've got to do it, man.
Winter. It's winter here now, and I'm like, anyone that knows me, I'm like usually super upbeat and like optimistic. I'm a misery guts in winter, and it's not even cold here. Like, I hate it. Like, this week, I think it's getting down to like 5 Celsius and like a top of like 19, and I'm hating life. I'm like,
what? That's insane.
Terrible.
Like, I mean, that's why I would like you guys to try that, because you're used to the hotter kind of climate and what have you. But again, on the flip side, if say me and Nathan decide to come over there and run 500 kilometers to Noosa or something or whatever, we'd struggle, because we'd be like, this is supposed to be winter. It is scorching. Like, we're used to high winds, and freezing cold temperatures. I mean, it's supposed
to
be
the rain
sunny.
Bouncing off the roads.
Yeah, it's garbage here. Like, last year, me and Nathan did a run, the one I've got coming up now, actually, the 50 miler, and it was August, and everyone was like, the year before they had a heat wave, and then last year we were stood on the start line and the rain was bouncing off our heads and the roads, and it basically didn't stop for the entire time. It was the worst weather. In fact, he had to change the route because it was so dangerous. There was weather warnings, and we're like, it's fucking August, guys. What's going on? Mother Nature, be kind to us, Jesus. But yeah,
that's so good of me.
Yeah, but I wanted to touch actually the one because you just kind of glazed over it, but I'm not having that. You mentioned you run across the country, so correct me if I'm wrong here, and if I am wrong, I am really sorry. That was like one of your biggest dreams, and you put all that training in, but it didn't happen, did it? What actually happened?
Yeah, so this has been a really without getting too philosophical, it's been a really interesting process over the last few years. And it's so I first blogged about wanting to run from the westernmost to the easternmost point of Australia 13 years before I went and did it, or went and attempted it. So it had been a dream for like a really long time. Like, I think that might have been part of the problem with how it all panned out. But I had this idea to run from it's a place called Steep Point in Shark Bay, which is like you guys would think was the end of the earth in the middle of nowhere. It's like another planet in Western Australia. And run to the easternmost point, which is the Cape Byron at Byron Bay. Now, to put it in perspective, I think it took us, from memory, 5 days to drive there. And that was like massive driving days. So it's a long way. So it was going to be the plan that I derived and was training for was to run 100K a day for 50 days and to finish on my 40th birthday. So it was 5,000 kilometers. And I'm still yet to find anybody that's run from the westernmost to the easternmost point. It was going to be a first attempt, an FKT, and there was a lot of energy and emotion put into doing that event. I got over there, and for whatever reason, we did the drive over. We were like, everything was planned. I got 3.5 days in, and I'm aware that I have this like genetic hip thing, and hadn't caused any drama in training. And 3.5 days in, for whatever reason, whether it was sitting in the car for 5 days, I don't know what the reason was, whether it was the camber of the road, and there's been a lot of thought process since coming back, but I persevered for another couple of days, but I pulled up on day 5. So my mindset probably wasn't, in some ways I wish I kind of would have stayed and tried to just do the run. But in my mind, I'd gone there to run 100K a day for 50 days, and anything less was a failure. And on day 4, I failed. So that was the end of the campaign as far as I was concerned. That probably wasn't the right way to look at it. But it is what it is. And I toyed around with ideas of like biking and then running, but I was like, I'm not here to ride a gravel bike across Australia. I'm here to run. So, and I failed at that. So yeah, so since coming back, I got to be honest, like it probably took me 12 to 18 months to emotionally and mentally process that failure. I've also learned through the process that people don't like the word failure, and people want to make you feel good about your shortcomings. I'm not about that. I failed at my attempt. I set out with a really audacious goal, and I didn't achieve that goal, and by definition, that's a failure, and that's fine. I think we mince words sometimes too much, and I've had to process that, and it still haunts me a little. I really want to go and have another go and approach it differently and just try and get it done. But as I'm sure you can appreciate, time, money, sponsorship, it's a lot. So if I go back, I've been next year will be 3 years since I was over there. So I've been toying with the idea of having another go, but I would certainly do it on a much lower key basis and aim to run still big distance per day, but I think I could probably manage in the realm of about 50 miles a day. I think that's probably pretty, I won't say like completely doable, but I think that's probably more manageable than 100K a day. And yeah, it's a lot. I still get a little emotional when I talk about it. And there were a lot of circumstances surrounding it too that bittered the experience a little, which I won't really go into. But yeah, it's certainly been a hard thing to swallow, and my hip hasn't caused me any issues since. So that's both great and really annoying.
Yeah, it's been annoying. Well, mate, Matt, you have to do it, man. You have to get it, whether it's next year or in 5 years. You've got to do that, because that will just it'll just haunt you for the rest of your life if you don't do it. And it is achievable. And I mean, I guess the psychology of it, you said about doing 100K a day. If you to do like 50 miles a day, and just see how you go on at that point. If you were struggling at that point, you can say, okay, I'm doing 50 today. But if you were feeling good, you can be pushed on and try and get that 100K, because what's that? 100K is 62 miles, is it? Something like that. So I just do it how you feel, I guess. But I feel like that's something that you've got to achieve. And that sounds like
And
an
if you're not having
incredible
if
training.
you're not having a good day, go with the mindset that, you might just do 40 or 50K a day,
Yeah.
and just get it done. I'm actually, there's been a lot of people from Australia doing some pretty remarkable things at the moment, and I'm mates with, again, funnily enough, even though he lives in Australia, I'm social media mates with anybody that doesn't know Sean Bell, Sean, Bell. He is
Mm.
currently he'd have to be over 120 odd. He'd have to nearly be at 125 days in. He is going to break the record running around Australia. He's been
Wow.
averaging, yeah, he's been averaging, yeah, I'd have to check, but his average would be close to 85K a day, for 120 plus days. And that guy, like, you want to talk about like incredible humans, like that dude he's one of the most humble, like, just get it done. Like, there's no nonsense. He's just a real good Aussie guy, and he's just going about his business with dignity, and he's having a laugh, and he's like multiple days he's like blood nose and vomit at the same time, just like streaming out. He'll give it a wipe and then like, right, let's go. Like, so anyway, that's all to say, if you don't follow Sean Bell, follow Sean Bell. And I'm actually, once all the hoo-ha dies down after he finishes, I'm pretty keen to have a bit of a chat to him. There's another guy that obliterated the record running from the traditional cross-country route in Australia is Cottesloe Beach in Perth to Bondi in Sydney. It's not the extremities. I want to do the extremities. It does add a lot of distance on, but just my heart wants to do the extremities. But there's a guy that obliterated the record last year, maybe.
That Ned Brockman.
Pardon?
That Ned Brockman, was that?
No. He completely annihilated his attempt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This guy, man, again, this guy, I think he goes by the Bull. His name's escaping me. I'm really sorry. I feel bad for not thinking of his name, but he averaged just over 100K a day. And that dude, like, again, like no nonsense, just head down, went about his business. And like, to put it in perspective for people, you talk about the Welsh weather and terrain. As a complete contrast, the Australian, for lack of a better term, outback, it and Western Australia in particular, and that bottom end of South Australia, it's a really unique, vast place. Like, there is hundreds of kilometers between towns, and when I say towns, I mean like little places with 20 houses and a convenience store or a pub. Like, a big thing that I didn't expect and took me by surprise, which won't happen next time, was the feeling of vulnerability and real loneliness. Like, if somebody wanted to do something to you out there, like, no one's finding you and no one's coming. Like, it is like, we drove across the country for 5 days, ran for 5 days, and drove back for 5 days and saw 2 police cars. Like, there is no one around. So yeah, I don't know how I got on that point, but yeah. So I think I was just going there to say that yes, it's still in my heart to have another go. It's a lot of pressure on everyone, but I would really like to have a talk to particularly Sean, and maybe the Bull, and just get some tips and ideas off them. I know Sean is operating on a plan that I think the Bull gave him, which is like a structured time plan. So he has like a thing where he wakes up, this might not be exactly right, but it's something like he wakes up, he has an hour to get ready, eat, do whatever he needs to do, get ready. Then he's on the road for, let's say, 14 hours. And that leaves him, no, however long it is, it's too late to do the math. It's like an hour, get ready, run for however long. And he has 2 hours to eat, recover, shower, rest. Then he has 8 hours sleep. So it's literally like 24 hours structured in a 1 hour or whatever hour block of running, 2 hour recovery, 8 hours sleep. So I guess that's 11. So it's 13 hours of running, which is like, that sounds like a pretty cool structure. So I don't know. I'm rabbiting, but it's
no, man. This is interesting. Would you do it if you tried it again? Would you be willing to have people come with you and do it with you, or would you, the more the merrier, or is it something you'd rather do alone?
Or? We had a pretty small team when we went over. It was just my dad and a couple of mates. It was actually my dad and one mate, and then we had a couple of other people join. But dude, it's so far in the middle of nowhere. It's just like, but I think if I went again, I'd do even just maybe just one mate, or and just do it super dirtbag, and no hurrah or fluff, just grind away each day and get it done.
Nice, man. I hope you do. I really hope you do. I was hinting at the fact that maybe one day when you do it, I could come out and run something with you. Or Nathan as well.
Come on over. Come on over.
It'd kill me. It'd absolutely kill me. You'd be laughing at me.
You'd be surprised. You'd go all right, mate.
I'm not sure. It'd be like you coming over here and us taking you into the Black Mountains in the midst of winter. You'd be.
Oh my gosh.
Mud back to his knees.
Oh yeah,
I'm used to running in a pair of shorts and shoes, and that's it. And on a hat, like all those clothes. Nah, it's too much.
You'd be hypothermic, mate. You would be hypothermic. It's impossible when you've got.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. We when I went to Italy for Lavaredo, we skipped into Austria, and I had the opportunity to meet up with a guy named Chris, who owns a company called Willpower Running, and it's a company from Germany who sponsored me, and Chris has been really kind over the years, and again, one of those internet friendships, and I had the opportunity to meet with him and another guy named Leo who lives in Innsbruck, and we got to go for a run together and hang out. And I don't know how the conversation come up, but I think we were talking about like what I was gonna wear in Lavaredo. I'm telling him like, oh, I bought a pair of like we call them man prees. They're like capris but for men, like 3/4 tights. And I'm like, oh, I bought a pair, and they were just like, Chris just started like laying it on thick. He's like, tights, like guys don't wear tights here. We wear pants. It's like this whole like long pants thing. I'm like, bro, you wore them in Australia. You get kicked off the trail and laughed at. I'm like, no one's running in long pants in Australia. I'm like, that's like tracksuit pants. So it's just this funny little like back and forth with cultures. And yeah, so I might not be allowed on the Welsh trails in my man freeze. I might have to find some pants.
I think it's over here, mate, as part of the mandatory kit list. You because the weather can just change so quickly. Like it's insane. And again, if you get wet and cold and you're stuck in the middle of the Black Mountains or the middle of the Brecon Beacons, well, put it this way, you can to walk up Pen y Fannes, which is one of the Welsh peaks. I think it's only less than 5 miles walking up it, and it's been known in the past that you'd be stood at the bottom in like a vest, shorts, and trainers. You can get to the top, and it could be snowing, and it's not even the highest peak, and that's legit. They've had a lot of people who've been called out mountain rescue and things like that because that's how quick it can change. So. I think if you were topless in your shorts and trainers, mate, you'd get yourself into a bit of a problem up there.
Yeah, I've been in some precarious situations in some limited gear, but that's a whole nother world, that's for sure.
I can imagine. Actually, precarious situations and just touching on like subject of that and pain and discomfort and stuff. Out of curiosity, so when you're running these distances, these long distances and stuff, how do you deal with pain and discomfort during big races? Do you like? I've read that people do it different ways. Like people, they'll break it down into moments, or they'll break it down into checkpoints, or they'll put music in. Is there any kind of tips you've got for anybody who finds themselves in that situation?
Yeah, I think a lot of time people overthink things and they put too much mental thought into the situation they're in right then. If I'm just in quote unquote physical pain, um, you know, let's face it, it's probably just discomfort. Because you're on a long climb or a hard descent or whatever. That that does not phase me at all. It's just I just know that that's going to pass, and I always break a race down aid station to aid station. So, you can't think about running 100 miles or 100K. It's too far for your brain to comprehend. So you just think, I've just got to run, 15K to the next aid station. And a little trick that I do, which I probably don't again suggest, is I typically don't spend any time, or maybe I glance at a course map or profile. I don't really want to know. When I get on the trails, because I don't get the opportunity to run trails a lot, when I get on the trails, it's a really amazing experience, and it's something I treasure and really enjoy. So I don't really need to know that in 5K there's a massive climb coming. I'm just like, it's going to be there regardless. So I get there and then get on with it when I get there. When you come to actual physical pain, like the stomach stuff I've experienced in the last couple of years, man, it's really difficult. Like at Lavaredo, I got to the checkpoint at like 99K, and I was sick. Like, I wasn't leaving that aid station, and my wife's like, they're all excited to see me. My wife and daughters were crewing for me, and they're all excited. They've been waiting there for probably 15 hours. No, not that long, but a long time. Um, and I'm like just a misery guts, and they're like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna lay in the fetal position on the ground, and I'm not gonna move." And that's what I did. And my wife's like jamming like these noodles in my mouth, and like, "Come on, you've got to eat." And like she saw that nothing was happening. She's like, "All right, we didn't come all this way for you to be laying here. You've got 10 minutes, and you get your ass up and you get out of here." I'm like, she knows how to get moving, so, and yeah, so
Jeez.
yeah, man, like she knows, and she did the same thing at BTU when my stomach went. I was at the last aid station. I didn't think I was gonna leave there either. I was like proper crook. And she was pacing me for the last 20 odd K, and she's like, stop your whinging, get some food into you, let's go. And we got moving. But man,
Jeez.
it's difficult, like it's when you have that level of pain and discomfort, um the only thing that I can say is keep moving forward. Like I've always had this thing with perpetual forward motion. Like you get to an aid station, don't stay in the aid station for like with all due respect, mate, I was watching your video of your race and I'm like, bro, we're not getting freaking pedicures. Get your socks on. Don't even take your socks off. Get your socks on and start walking. Are you killing me? I'm like, he spent 15 hours in the aid stations. You could have won. No, but seriously, I'm like,
Reach your
I'm like,
week.
yeah.
Honestly, I needed to get food in me, man. I needed pot noodles. I got a real funny story, right? So
You gotta eat while you're walking.
I struggle though. I guess it's hard. I do that, but I struggle to eat when I'm moving, and I think I got a lot better as it went on. But the first few, I spent far too much time there. But I got a funny story that you're going to appreciate, Matt. So I said it in one of the recent podcasts. So being obviously, an owner of two specialty coffee shops. So we rock up to checkpoint two. And the guy who I ended up running, a friend of mine, Paul, who I ended up running 80 miles with. So we're sat there. I was having a quick change of clothes. I'd run out. I hadn't reapplied sun creams. I'd run out of it. So I felt really overheated. So I was trying to get water in me and stuff. But I also had a coffee. And, they bring out, instant coffee just to give you a quick shot. And you do it and you get changed. My friend Paul is sat there with a V60 coffee dripper and paper filters with enough ground coffee for every checkpoint, right? And I'm like, I'm laughing, and he's just like, honestly, and I was like, what have you got? And he's like, I gotta have my ground coffee for every checkpoint. And I was like, you are shitting me. Honest to God, I've got a video of it I will send to you. And it's the funniest thing. But I will say this. I never once saw him get that out of his drop bag for the remainder of the race.
Did he have a V60 in every aid station or in his pack?
No, in his drop, so there was three drop bags. Three checkpoints where you had access to your drop bag, 2, 5, and 6, I think it was. And in his drop bag was this real nice V60 dripper. Because I looked over, I'm drinking my coffee and thinking I'm spending too long here, and I'm looking over him and I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, it's a dripper. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Seriously, this is insane.
I have heard some things happen in races. I have never heard of anyone going to that level for coffee.
No,
like I've had
no.
coffee brought to me, but not like that's. I don't know if I'm like shocked in a happy way or like disgusted. That is insane.
I'm gonna tell him that. I'm gonna tell him that. But in my defense
That's
as well,
a great story.
At the checkpoints, in my defense as well, the second and the third checkpoints, they realised my bloody tracker wasn't working, so they had to drive someone in from God knows where because it took them a while to get to me. Turned out it couldn't be fixed, so I had to go to the next checkpoint, and they had to do the same thing there, and they could fix it. But yeah, I know I did spend a long time in the checkpoints on this one, but
that's something that you learn as you go along, though. Like, and it depends on your goals, right? Like, going back to my dad, like, right, man, he has like a picnic and he talks to everyone and he's hugging people and kissing babies, and I'm like, stop wasting time. I'm just like get in and get out. Like, unless I'm, as I said, like at BTU at the last race at the 100 mile I just did, I hadn't had my girls crew me for some time for a race, and I deliberately spent a bit more time in aid stations because they were like, it was amazing. Like, it's a lot for them, like they're nearly, well, one's a teenager and one is nearly a teenager, so it's like they don't care about dad running around the bush, like, it's, but they were like super into it, like wanting to take out rubbish and get me food and refill my pack. And like, so I'm like, you know what? It was a bit overwhelming at times, but I was like, you know what? Just shut your mouth and just spend a bit of time and let them help. And it was like, it was really nice. So it depends on your goals. Usually I'm like in and out, giving my bottles and I'm like out of there. But yeah, it's a lot of time wasted at aid stations.
Yeah, exactly. I think going back very quickly to the pain thing you said about, and again, that comes into stopping at checkpoints. I think with the pain and discomfort thing, I think it's not like the physical pain, like you said, of your legs aching and things like that. Because I always remember listening to a podcast with Courtney Dauwalter when she DNF'd on her first 100 miler because she said her legs are just in too much pain. But afterwards, she realised that that's just if you're 60 miles into the race, that's just natural. Of course, you're going to be in pain. You just got to learn to push past it. But I think it's acknowledging that there's a very big difference between discomfort, your physical discomfort, and pain, or and being injured and unsafe. So I think there's like you said, if you're vomiting and it's coming out the other side as well, and everything you put in you's come back up, and you can't even keep water down, and you've still got another 60 miles of a race on a hot day. I think it's also acknowledging that actually, is this safe? There's no point in putting yourself 6 foot under for a race. You've still got a family to go home to. So I think there's just but yeah, I get what you're saying about the physical pain.
Yeah, and that's individual to each person, like I've certainly, for a long time prided myself on never having a DNF. And then I did some hard races, and now I am of the opinion that if you don't have a DNF, you're not trying hard enough races. But I say that to say that, I've certainly not finished races because of injury, because of, various reasons. And for each individual person, that level of what you're willing to put yourself through and at what point you're willing to persevere is different. And I think, like sometimes it's easy to look at people that quote unquote quit, and you're like, mate, if you just would have sat there for 20 minutes and and persevered and walked, then maybe you might have come good. But who am I to pass that judgment on anyone? Like we're all in our own little journey, and they've towed the start line, and they're there having a go, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think it's dealing with variables. Like my first DNF last year, which I'm going back to do the same race now, 3rd of August, was because I had a really bad chest. So I'd not been well leading up to it. I think my boy had lovingly brought something home from nursery, as they like to do. And I kind of pushed through it, and I got to about marathon distance, and I decided to just throw my hands up and kind of have a strop and quit and throw my bag and what have you, because I just a variable that you can't control is, I couldn't really breathe and the weather was diabolical, and I can deal with aching in my knees and legs, but if I can't breathe properly and I've still got a marathon left. And then I saw Nathan just stroll through the checkpoint and say hello to me, and I was like, yeah, bastard.
He's on the way to run the whole coast.
Exactly. But yeah, that's coming back. Retribution indeed, as you said. Can't wait. I guess, I'm sorry we've taken up a lot of your time, but I just wanted to, I guess just thank you for coming on here. And I do want to ask, with your amazing collection of tattoos, I do have to ask, come on, you've got to have one that you've a funny tattoo, or what is one of your first tattoos that you look back and you think, holy shit, look at that bad boy. Or like, have you got a favorite tattoo or something? You gotta have something.
I only have one tattoo now.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I like that. It's a
my
good way of putting it.
now. Yeah,
I like that.
So
that's a good way of putting it.
I'm actually like, again, this ebbed and flowed too. Like for a long time there, it sounds kind of weird, but somebody who was reasonably heavily tattooed, I actually didn't like really talking about it, and people making a big deal about it. I was like, it's just my thing. Like leave me be. Whereas now, like my bodysuit's finished, I'm like, I'm I feel kind of honored. Like I've had a couple of older people recently in summer, um, like actually stop me and ask me about it and comment how amazing it is, and like it's super sweet. So actually like I'm actually really proud of the fact that my bodysuit's done. It's like been the longest ultra marathon you'll ever do. Like I got my first tattoo when I was 17, and I finished it. I finished my suit like the end of last year, so it's like 25 years. And all but probably 4 years in there, I was getting tattooed like pretty regularly.
Hmm.
But as far as favorite ones go, um, man, I forget even sometimes what I got. And I was kind of fortunate I didn't get any like, I've got a couple of like ordinary ones, but not like anything real bad that I'm like cringe over. And a lot of the first ones that I got covered up, not for any reason, just that they were in the way of like my back piece or like other tattoos. Um, but I've had the fortune to be tattooed by some really amazing tattooists, and I think I think the themes of most of mine are probably more important to me than the tattoos themselves. Like, uh, like I got a number of Christian tattoos. I've got like some vegan ones. I've got like some straight edge ones. I guess that's another like reasonably interesting thing about me. I've been straight edge my whole life, so I've never tried alcohol, drugs, or cigarettes. Like my whole life. The only alcohol I've ever had was wine at communion when I was a kid. And yeah, so so I guess the themes of them, I have a real deep interest in Japanese culture and tattoos. So, one side of my body is sort of like I've got some really epic Japanese stuff. And then the old school stuff is like the remainder of it. So that's another big like fascination of mine. But I guess if I had to put like, I think the two pigeon pair favorite are my armpits. I
Yeah,
like,
I was going to bring
they
them up,
turned
man. I
out,
saw a picture of you. Oof,
yeah,
gnarly.
they turned out really good. Like I got like a gorilla with a bump on his head, and then like this dude Dan did this like epic chrysanthemum in my arm, like Japanese flower, and it's really good. So I think my armpits are like, and because of where they are, it's like they're pretty epic tattoos. Yeah.
That hurt like hell, man.
Yeah, it
Oof.
all hurts.
Yeah, yeah, man. Mate, sorry, I can't believe I haven't touched on this. You mentioned Japanese tattoos and stuff then. You need to talk about what you've got coming up. Obviously, you did the Brisbane Ultra Trail. Congratulations again for that, mate. And now you've got something coming up in Japan. What is it you're doing in Japan?
Yeah, I got to get back to training, and we've all been hit with the old sickness like you were talking about before this week. So my training's been pushed a week. Like I just had a short week by my standards this week, so hopefully tomorrow we'll get back into it. But yeah, I guess it's 9 weeks. Where well, we're heading to Japan before 9 weeks, but in 9 weeks' time, I'm going to be doing the now I think it said Shinjuku 100K. Sorry, 100 miler. Uh, I'm not a fan of doing races for other races, but when we have to travel so far for races and we don't have a lot of qualifying races for other races, I've sort of picked events based around requalifying for Western States Lottery. So it's a states qualifier. Uh, you were talking about food before. I'm actually reasonably nervous about what I'm going to eat at aid stations in Japan. Um, that might be interesting. There might be a lot of rice and plain noodles. I don't know. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I'll be taking a stack of nutrition with me. So yeah, so we'll have I think we got like nearly 3 weeks in Japan, and again making a holiday out of it and throw a little 100 miler in the Japanese Alps in the mix as well.
That's amazing, man.
Stunning.
Yes, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. And then to round the year out, I've got an FKT, or it will, I think, be a first time run plan for the end of the year. So that's going to be a 7-day FKT attempt. So yeah, so a few things coming, and all my little personal goals in thrown in the mix, and lots of training and good times. A couple of hardcore shows in there too, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's gonna be good.
Amazing, man. Amazing. What have you got any bucket lists then, Matt? We asked this to everyone. What is your absolute bucket list race if you could? Well, it doesn't have to be one, but is there a particular standout one that you would just love to do?
So I guess if you put it into, I've got a heap of solo type crew adventures that I want to do. If you take them out of the mix, races, like I actually literally blogged about it today. Like Western States is my lifetime dream race. I've followed it religiously from when I got into ultramarathon running. Every year, seen it grow and change, and I just got to get through that damn lottery. And I was actually my plan was part of my plan was to finish my run across Australia and apply for a special entry, but never happened. So I got to keep going for the lottery. But Western States, Hard Rock's up there, but we only have, I think we only have one qualifier in Australia and one in New Zealand, and I just have never got to do those races for whatever reason. So qualifying for Hard Rock and the lottery for it's near impossible as well. Recent years, in the last 3 years, I've taken a real interest in the speed project. And I really love to have a crack at that solo. That would be super cool. And then, I mean, there's a long list, but Western States is 100% the top of the bundle. I would die a happy man the day I finish Western States.
Amazing, man. That's awesome. That's still cool. Nice one, Matt. I just wanted to say again, I know it's been back and forth. There's a few attempts to try and get you on here. I know it's difficult with the time zones and everything, but thank you for taking time out your evening to do this with us and stuff. And I'm just really, really psyched that we finally managed to get it done and have a proper chat as opposed to on Instagram. And I hope it's not the last time you come on here. Maybe we can get you on here again in the future. Definitely, especially if you, or I should say when you do that run across Australia, because you are going to do it. And we'll get you back on there. And maybe, hopefully, we can get you over here and exploring the Welsh mountains as well.
Yeah, well, I might not end up quite there, but BTU got me. I think I've got more than enough points, but I'm going to put in for the lottery for UTMB next year as well. So
nice.
Might keep over, and I might be looking for crew if I get in through the lottery for that. So yeah, but just thanks to you guys for having me. I mean, I love doing podcasts, and it's an honor every time I get to do them. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'm pretty easy to find on social media, Strava, or my website, and love to keep the chat going and make connections and just keep the vibe high with with whoever I stumble across along the way and simulate with. So yeah, so thanks to you guys and keep up the good work.
Cheers, Matt. That was super cool.
Cheers, Matt.
Thanks,
that was really cool. Appreciate that, man. We'll catch up soon. Cheers, Matt. Thanks ever so much for coming on, mate.
Bye.
Peace.
Take care, man.
You too.
As always, thank you so much to anyone who has tuned in, listened, and subscribed to our previous episodes. I hope you all agree that was just an awesome episode with Matt. And we've got some amazing guests coming up next week and the week after as well. So please, if you get a chance, go and visit their Instagrams, go and look at their stuff, get inspired, because they're all really cool people, as are you. So thank you so much again to everyone who's listened and watched and subscribed. Yeah, can't wait for future episodes. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks all for listening, guys. Bye.
Cheers.